worked with him a lot. Yeah,
the funniest thing was we're doing I think it was one of the community shows on the road, and we're in a warehouse factory workers all around it. I think it was Joe and Lisa or somebody doing it. But Mancini is trying to get the ACs to get microphones and whoever that is in the crowd is talking to. He didn't realize he was talking on the camera. I command you! What the fuck? And then we're on the camera doing this and they're laughing shit. We're on the fucking...
Let me show you some memes that I've made on the fly. Been working it out.
Oh, dude, he's funny, man. He's calmed down a lot and he realizes that he gets a little intense. Was it Joe Montalbano or something else?
Hey, sorry. Go on. The Wi-Fi is going to be a little yep.
We're all good. Is anybody yelling at us? Yeah, no, we're transmitting. Let's check in with satellite. I should probably record in time.
Yeah, never heard.
Alright, have fun.
Have fun. Al Heck or someone? Probably if I see him. I think the long hair dude.
No, he's another big side.
Yeah, if I see him, I'll probably
What for us? Because our rate is like
They tend to undervalue experience. Good.
yeah, you run down and again, don't like to get somewhere else. These things will fit.
Maybe getting some program audio.
Welcome to the Earthshot Prize Innovation Summit. Our program will begin in 10 minutes. Thank you. Good afternoon, and welcome to the Earthshot Prize Innovation Summit. Please find your seat. Our program will begin shortly. Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome to the Earthshot Prize Innovation Summit. Our program will begin in 5 minutes. Thank you. Good afternoon. Please take your seats. Our program is about to begin. Good afternoon. Please silence any cell phones or electronic equipment. Our program is about to begin. Thank you. Good afternoon. Please take your seats. Our program is about to begin. Good afternoon. Please take your seats. Our program is about to begin.
This is the Earthshot Prize.
There is no challenge bigger than the battle against climate change.
Where it won't just take our global collective will, it will also take innovation.
Welcome to the Earthshot Prize here in London. Tonight, we're turning the capital and hopefully the world green.
Winning this prize is recognition that we are going in the right direction.
Welcome to Boston and the Earthshot Prize.
The Prince of Wales has awarded his Earthshot Prize.
The prize money, £1 million each to take their projects further.
This is the greatest crisis that we are facing in our lifetime.
It's my hope the Earthshot legacy will continue to grow, which is why we must choose the path of hope, optimism, and urgency to repair our planet.
Please welcome Global Advisor to the winners of the Earthshot Prize and founder of Bloomberg Philanthropies and Bloomberg LP, Michael R. Bloomberg.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Hello. It's great to have you here, and it is my honor to welcome you to the greatest city in the world. And a special welcome to His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales. Now, I should mention that just last month, a Gallup poll ranked all the most popular public figures in America, from celebrities to politicians to heads of state. Guess who was number one? No, it wasn't me. I was surprised, too. Prince William came out on top. So the prince has clearly won over Americans of all stripes, and these days that is, we all know, no small feat. In fact, the poll also showed that the prince is viewed positively by 60% of Democrats and 60% of Republicans. America has not seen that kind of bipartisan consensus since 1776. But this time we're all drinking to the king's health. Seriously, it's an honor to welcome Prince William to New York City, and I want to thank him for bringing us here today. Now, there are prizes for a lot of different things, from music to movies to theater, and every year the world's greatest artists and scientists are presented with the Nobel Prize in their respective fields. But as Prince William and the Royal Foundation observed back in 2020, the Nobel Committee has never created an award category specifically for the environment. In other words, there was no Nobel for working to save the planet. And so he decided to create one. And in some ways, the Earthshot Prize is even more important than a Nobel, which honors breakthroughs that have already occurred by focusing on new innovations and promising ideas and engaging young people and future leaders. Earthshot is not about yesterday, today, and about tomorrow, because the climate crisis is no longer some far-off menace. It's here, right now, and the effects are only getting worse. Today, more than a quarter of the U.S. is enduring a drought. Entire continents have suffered under wildfire smoke, and entire towns have been burned to the ground or devastated by flooding, and that's just over the last 3 months. The best scientific studies tell us that the risks of more extreme weather are continuing to rise, and so it's up to us to rise to the occasion and do something about it. And Prince William is helping the next generation lead the way by building on his father and grandmother's dedication to environmental stewardship. When the Prince first mentioned the creation of this prize, I was glad to come on board as an advisor and its first financial supporter, because I knew back then that once the word got out, a lot of people would want to get involved, including our environmental team at Bloomberg Philanthropies. The Prince, as is obvious, he's in a unique position to bring people together, as you can see here today, and he's found many ways to do that through his leadership of the Earthshot Prize. Our team was part of the project's development process, and we worked with the Prince and his team to ensure that the prize would not only spark innovative new ideas, but also help scale them up. Just recently, I had the chance to meet again with one of our mentees, a young woman named Vi Talakoan from New Caledonia in the South Pacific Islands. She won the 2021 Earthshot Prize for figuring out ways to build electrolysis that split water molecules to create a form of hydrogen that can power cars and planes and ships with 0 emissions. Not too shabby for someone who still hasn't turned 30. It's a long ways away from where I am. Getting the chance to meet with her and her very supportive mother, and also to hear about how she founded a company to scale, her innovation underscores just how exciting the outcomes of this prize can be. And she'll join Prince William in a conversation later this afternoon, and we're looking forward to hearing more about what's ahead. Every finalist we recognize here today has the same kind of potential, and it really is exciting. I also want to recognize the leadership of Earthshot CEO Hannah Jones, who along with Prince William has helped turn the Earthshot Prize into a global platform with a scale and scope that continues to grow. I also want to give a big thanks to all of the global supporters who have been critical to the success of this effort. Since we launched the Earthshot Prize, it has generated over 3,000 nominations across 100 countries, and we've named 30 finalists and 10 winners, all while reaching and inspiring a global audience of millions. And today, we'll be announcing the next group of 15 finalists. Some of the past winners are here with us, and it's been great to see their work develop and their impact spread. And we hold this event here in New York during the General Assembly deliberately to connect the finalists with the world's climate leaders in both science and finance, and who can help them refine, fund, and scale their ideas. The mission couldn't be more important, so thank you all for joining us and for all you're doing to help win the battle against climate change. Just watch television every day. It's another disaster someplace in the world, and we've just not even paid attention to when 10,000 people drown in one day in one mishap, and we go on living our lives. We're not going to be able to do that. We just have to stop and find some ways to make this future for our kids much more safe than it looks like it's going to be. God bless, and thank you all.
Please welcome founder and CEO of Makuru Clean Stoves and winner of the 2022 Earthshot Prize, Charlotte Magai, for a conversation with actress, humanitarian, and UNHCR Goodwill Ambassador, Nomzamo Mbata.
Your Royal Highness, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, welcome, welcome, welcome to the Innovation Summit. It is an incredible, incredible honor to be here. Please look at the person next to you just to say optimism above all. Did you hear that, Charlotte? I didn't hear that. Let's try that one more time. That's more like it. Now, it's incredible to be here on the stage. And what I love about imagination is that I can be able to sit in the middle of the concrete jungle, New York City, and close my eyes and imagine myself in Kenya. 2 factories bustling with people making mukuru stoves. Now, if you're like me, I know what mukuru stoves are, but if you're not like me, you're sitting there asking yourself, what are mukuru stoves? And I get to sit next to the founder and CEO of Mukuru Stoves, Charlotte Magai, who is also the 2022 Earthshot Prize winner for Clean Our Air. Now, Charlotte, for everyone who's sitting here, Mukuru Stoves, what makes them unique? And what was the essential innovation when you decided to start?
Thank you. First of all, that was nerve-wracking, but it's great to see familiar faces on the audience. My name is Charlotte Magai. I'm from Nairobi, Kenya, and Mukuru stoves are stoves that I made after my daughter got banned by a traditional stove. Essentially, what they do is they allow families to use less fuel, thereby reducing household air pollution and fuel consumption costs. What they have is a raised thermal efficiency, and we use recycled metal to make them, which makes them a little bit cheaper for the communities that need them.
Now, a quote that I read earlier says, the best ideas are personal ones born of personal experience, ones that originated to help a few, but ended up helping many. Now, in your previous answer, you likely touched on your own personal experience that inspired you to start Mukuru Stoves. And I wonder if you'd be able to unpack that for us and just share a little bit more on what exactly happened and what the solution to that was.
Thank you. So I'm 30 now, but when I was 10, I lost both my parents. And at 16, I became pregnant, so I dropped out of school. I got a job selling charcoal, and we used that coupled by a traditional stove. When my daughter was around 2 years, I was cooking, and there was an accident. She got very severe burns. And that is what sparked my interest to provide better cooking technologies for my community. Initially, I just wanted to provide a more stable stove to reduce, the cases of burns in children under the age of 5. But then while doing research on that, I found out that wasn't even the biggest problem. People were really battling with respiratory tract illnesses, high cost of fuel. So then I designed a stove that would solve all 3 problems. And then we work with local women business owners. So because they're the ones who use the stoves and understand the need, they distribute our stoves and they earn a 10% commission on it.
Wow, so there's a sense of ownership. Talk about economic development through women empowerment. Now, so much of the Earthshot Prize is around scaling and growth. Can you be able to just let us know in terms of the personal and key milestones that you have seen for yourself, but also for Mukuru Stoves through the partnership with Earthshot Prize?
I mean, so many exciting numbers to throw at you, but one that's very exciting for me was when we won the Earthshot Prize a year ago, we had sold about 250,000 stoves. Last week, this week, yesterday, we reached 400,000 households with our clean cook stoves. But then that's not the only thing that's happened.
Something to clap about. It's a big number.
Thank you. That's not the only thing that's happening. There's this quote that says, if you allow people to have basic essential needs, if you allow people the resources that they need, then they have the opportunity to dream. And for me, you would think that I already had that with Mukuru, but after we won the Earthshot Prize, again, I was able to dream and be creative. And so in December, a few weeks after we won, I was reading a report by the CDC, and it was talking about families still catching malaria even when they have access to mosquito nets. And reading the timelines when they were getting bitten by mosquitoes, it was around the time when they were cooking with our stoves. And so I thought, what can we do? And then again, I learned that Kenya and Tanzania, I'm from Kenya, we're the largest producers of pyrethrin in the world. And pyrethrin is the strongest insecticide in the world. So then I decided I was going to infuse that into our briquette. So when you burn it, it turns your home into a mosquito repellent zone, and it allows for protection for 12 hours. And one of the Earthshot partners just decided to give us some more money. They're funding us to be able to do more research and bring this product to more households. So thank you so much, Jody Allen.
Indeed. Of course, this forms part of the leg of Mukuru Foundation. Can you tell us about Mukuru Foundation and the research and development that's going to be going into the fight against one of the most deadliest diseases in the world today, malaria?
Thank you so much. So yeah, we run a business, and that's what we want. We won the Earthshot Prize for, but we wanted to be able to do a little bit more. So we formed a foundation, and we just got it registered this year. And what we're going to try and do, is to develop solutions, but also do research to prove that it works, and then go out there and look for financing with a little bit of traction, with a little bit of data to show that this is working and it is impacting lives. So Mukuru Clean Stoves, with Paul G. Allen Family Foundation being the first funders of that foundation, we're going to be able to set up a model world village. I've been saying model African village, but Larissa just corrected me that there are villages outside of Africa, and I need to thank Pega. So we're setting up a model African village, and we're going to be testing our solutions within these households to ensure that we are saying that it reduces maybe household air pollution or it fights malaria in a specific hut. In Kenya, we need to be able to prove that it can do the same thing in Nigeria or another country in Oceania. So that is what we're doing with the foundation, and hopefully we can keep coming up with new solutions to impact more lives. And we don't want it to just stop at Mukuru, because now we have a big platform. We have a really big opportunity to be able to, get more resources, get more partners. So we're going to allow our team and more people to be able to dream, to be able to prove that their dreams are valid, and then get the support that they need to be able to scale it.
And you are a testament of a valid dream. I could sit here and listen to this woman speak the entire morning, but I will get kicked off the stage. Now, millions of children continue to breathe in toxic air, and this is why the Earthshot Prize is so essential to funding, scaling, growth. Without further ado, these are the finalists for the 2023 Earthshot Prize, Clean Our Air, as our incredible Charlotte hands over. Thank you so much. Thank you.
In London, a startup is aiming to minimize the pollution caused by tire wear. As they degrade, tires fill our air with harmful particulates. But Enzo are producing tires which reduce damaging air pollutants by around 35%. A social advocacy group is fighting for better air quality across Polish cities. Traditional coal fires are the main source of urban pollution. But by raising awareness and campaigning for clean air legislation, Polish Smog Alert are advocating for a cleaner future. In China and Hong Kong, innovators are revolutionizing lithium-ion battery production and recycling. The water-based technology of GRST's green battery helps to get cleaner modes of transport on the road, reducing air pollution. By investing in solutions like these, clean air and healthier lives are within reach for many of us.
Please welcome co-founder and managing director of the Queensland Indigenous Women's Ranger Network and winner of the 2022 Earthshot Prize, Larissa Hale, co-founder and CEO of KETI, and winner of the 2022 Earthshot Prize, Kaushik Kapagantulu, for a conversation with trustee of the Earthshot Prize, Her Excellency Dame Jacinda Ardern.
Good afternoon, everyone. In the 12 months since I last joined Mike in the 2021 cohort of finalists here in New York, I've suddenly found myself with a little more time on my hands and had the privilege of becoming an Earthshot Prize trustee. I'm thrilled, though, to now be sitting with two of last year's winners, Larissa Hale, winner of Revive Our Oceans, and Kaushik Kapagantulu, who won the Protect and Restore Nature Prize. Larissa, I'm going to start with you, which I know you're thrilled about.
Yeah.
You founded the Queensland Indigenous Women's Ranger Network with the goal of empowering Indigenous women with leadership roles to take care of their lands. I want to start with a simple question, though. What prompted you to start on this incredible journey?
I've been a ranger now for roughly 16 years. And when I first started our program, I was the only Indigenous female ranger coordinator for Queensland. I was also the youngest woman in the room, and sitting in that room where there was all non-Indigenous men talking about Indigenous land and sea management, it didn't feel right. But there was definitely a gap. You know, for women, we have a very big role to play in our communities and on our country, and it is our responsibility to look after country. So we started with me, and then I lobbied the government and worked with them to try and grow the program. And in 2018, we had 26 ladies come to the table, and we discussed what we needed to do to encourage more women. And it came down to empowerment, creating opportunities, more training. And now I have 165 ladies that I work with.
Which is incredible. Now, for many in this room who work in the environment and climate space, they'll understand why it's so important to engage Indigenous groups in the guardianship of oceans. But tell us a little more from your perspective of why that's so important.
I think the one thing that I always tell people is that we are there. I remember sitting in a Queensland Parks meeting, and they said, we have this beautiful biodiversity and it's a pretty national park. And I said, yeah, but it's my home. My ancestors were here. My mother's here, and she still works as a ranger. I'm here, and we're going to be here for generations to come. We've been observing our land and sea country for generations. So we need to work together. We need to work with Western science and traditional science to be able to make everything come together with a better picture on how we should be looking after land and sea country.
Brilliant. Now, Kaushik, I'm going to ask you, you have an ambitious goal of reaching 50,000 farmers by 2027 and 1 million farmers in 10 years with your greenhouse in a box. So just a small goal. Now, there are 100 million smallholder farmers in India who are extremely vulnerable to the impact of climate change. Tell us how you remain engaged with the community and why that is so important.
Right. Yeah, I would say that it is a small goal because there are 100 million smallholder farmers in India and 500 million across the world. And they're all struggling with the impacts of climate change, and they see them much ahead of most other communities. So Kheti was started because we spent time with those communities, and we talked to almost 1,000 farmers, over 6 months, lived with them, worked with them, and did farming with them so that we could understand those impacts that they are seeing firsthand. So I think unless we solve the problem for those 500 million, we are not really going to have a long-term future in terms of food security, livelihood, so many other areas. So coming back to the point of sort of engaging with the community, there's no way we can build solutions without engaging with the community. So I did not come from a farming family. I am from India. I am from the area that we work in, but my context is completely different. So at every step of the way, like I mentioned in the beginning, it was talking to 1,000 farmers before even thinking of greenhouses as a solution, to understand the problem first. Then at every step of the solution, our greenhouse was designed in collaboration with farmers. So in our latest version of the greenhouse, more than 2,000 farmers had inputs where they co-designed the greenhouse with us. And that's the reason it works for them right now. Even now, as we scale up, we work with community-led organizations, women farmer groups, to not only design the program, but think about how do we scale this. Because when you're building a solution for a community, if you are solution first, the solution will fail, it will not scale. But if you are user first, if you're community first, and you involve them in every part of the decision making, that's when we can actually achieve that ambitious goal of not only a million, but the big vision is that every smallholder farmer on this planet has access to climate smart technologies and doesn't worry about the future because of climate change.
Fantastic. And you may think that the scale of your project is small, but when you come from a nation of 5 million people, that sounds quite significant to probably most of us here. But tell us a little bit about the potential here. I mean, one of Earthshot's big driving principles is that idea of urgency, but also optimism. Give us a little bit of hope. Tell us about the potential impact of your project on farmers' lives and livelihoods and also their environment.
Right. Yeah, so when we started out, the situation seemed pretty bleak. Like you mentioned, smallholder farmers work hard all year round, but they have absolutely no control over their incomes because of external risks, heat, rain, pests, hail, which all wipe out their already meager incomes. So our solution, which didn't come overnight, we spent 5 years designing it, working with the community, does three kinds of impacts. One is it doubles farmers' incomes. It helps them grow more yields all through the year, and then use that to double. And on average, our farmers today, many of our farmers are tripling their incomes, but doubling incomes is a goal that we set ourselves on. But incomes is our first level. It protects those incomes for long-term climate resilience by protecting it from heat, rain, pests, and hail. And finally, it makes smallholder agriculture sustainable by using 1/50th the water when compared to traditional cultivation and much lesser fertilizer and pesticide. So that creates really long-term impact, not really short-term impact, but really a pathway out of poverty and a resilience for the long term for these families. Today, we work with about 4,000 families, out of 90% of which came in the last 12 months, a lot of it after we won the Earthshot Prize. And clearly, we have a line of sight towards reaching 100,000 farmers in the next 5 years.
Incredible. And you can see a common theme between our winners so far, this idea of economic empowerment at the same time as finding sustainable and climate-friendly solutions. Larissa, I'm going to come back to you with a final call to action. What would your message be to potential partners around supporting how they can support you, your project, and the solutions that we're seeing developed here?
That's a hard one. When I've spoken to people, I've asked them to actually hear what we're talking about, and it's about the people, it's about the community. It's a community-led project. I don't have a product that we sell. It is honestly about a human-centric, holistic approach to looking after land and sea country. So my biggest thing would be walk the country. If you have the opportunity to go and work with First Nations people, definitely go, introduce yourself and walk the country with them, and you'll understand why everything is so important. It's our heart, it's our home, and when I talk about country, country is me. It is part of our being. So what we always say at home is healthy country, healthy people, healthy country. We need both.
Fantastic. So, Larissa, consider that an invitation to everyone in this room. I can attest Australia is closer than you think and worth the journey. Kaushik, what about you? What's your call to action to the partners in this room today?
Yeah, coming back to what I said, I think that the big ambitious goals we have over and above the 1 million farmers cannot be achieved alone. We cannot make 500 million farmers climate resilient and sustainable by just Katie doing our work or even just working on greenhouses. So I think we call it in Katie, we call it the V is above the I. So what we're looking for is people across the spectrum to partner with us, whether it's people working on other solutions which you can integrate with, whether it's other on-ground partners who we can spread this word with, whether it's people who'll join us as team members, funders, partners. So we can only walk this journey if we do it together. So we're looking to get hundreds of people on this, and I want to see in 5 years another 100 KTs started up so that we can actually solve this problem in the next decade or the next 20 years.
Incredible. Thank you both for... Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both for your solutions, but also for your optimism and, of course, that final call to action. The health of our oceans and the preservation of our forests and natural land are vital to human health and to human happiness. We'll learn about the work of 3 finalists nominated for this year's Revive Our Oceans Earthshot later today. But first, it's a pleasure to share the 3 chosen solutions for 2023 to protect and restore nature. Take a look.
In Peru, Acción Andina works with indigenous communities in the high Andes to restore lost forests. By replanting native trees, they not only restore the woodlands, They also enable the capture of fresh water needed by people in mountain villages and lowland towns. Belterra partners with small and medium-sized farms in Brazil to transform degraded land into productive agroforestry. They develop production chains and connect farmers with large buyers and cooperatives, helping to increase their income and restore the forest at the same time. Freetown in Sierra Leone has experienced rapid deforestation due to urban expansion, increasing the risk of landslides and flooding. To counter this, the city has declared Freetown a tree town and works with the local community to reforest the landscape, restore the degraded coastline, and create green jobs. Nature-based solutions often lose out to climate change technologies. But for a sustainable future, we must invest in both equally.
Please welcome Minister of Foreign Affairs of Singapore, Dr. Vivian Balakrishnan.
Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm delighted to join you at the Earthshot Prize Innovation Summit. You've just heard from Jacinda Ardern, who says she comes from a small country. Well, I'm even smaller. We have 5.8 million people, but Singapore will fit into Lake Taupo in North Island of New Zealand. That's how small we are. So when the theme of this segment called Revive Our Oceans is a special and very apt one for me and my people from this small maritime city-state called Singapore. Our history, our people, our economy are inseparable from the wars around us. And the other point you need to know is that in case of Singapore, our trading volume is 3 times our GDP. I dare say no one else in this audience has that ratio. So when we say the sea and the maritime routes are essential, are lifeblood, it's not just a talking point, it's the real thing. The survival and the prosperity of people on islands all over the world are dependent on the vitality of the sea and how we live and make a living. And it applies to us because even for those of us who are in the sea, we could also be sea-locked if we don't have access to the sea routes from which our trade and our prosperity and peace depends on. The ocean provides food, jobs, livelihood, and as I said just now, for the global trade. And the big concern now is the impact of climate change. And its impact not just on sea levels, and again, I'll need to remind you for Singapore, 1/4 of our land has been reclaimed from the sea, which means by definition, it's not very high above sea level. And just based on the current projections, we would face threats. Quite apart from sea level rise, the increasing frequency of extreme weather events, floods, droughts, and all of the above, also pose existential threats to island states like mine. So today, we also witness the thing which you don't see, the increasing acidification of the sea. And that means less oxygen for marine life, and that must ultimately mean less food for human beings as well. So preserving our oceans and maintaining livelihoods is not something that's mutually exclusive. In fact, it is part of a virtuous cycle. So let me just highlight 3 points. First, the global movement towards decarbonization and digitalization of the maritime sector. This is a mouthful, just stop to think about it. Decarbonization and digitalization of the maritime sector. In fact, it's a great opportunity. Shipping emits 1 billion tons of CO2 into the atmosphere every year. 1 billion tons. And frankly, there is much potential for abatement. So green and digital shipping corridors are being set up to be vital nodes in what we hope will be a trailblazing, I'm using the concept of a trailblazing metaphor. But we need to have these corridors to show that it is possible to decarbonize and still be economically viable. One such corridor that is being established is between the Maritime Port Authority of Singapore and the Port of Los Angeles and the Port of Long Beach, which was established in April 2023 as part of what we call the Green Shipping Challenge that was launched by both the US and Norway last year. Besides supporting the transition to lower and hopefully zero emission fuels by ships, these green and digitally empowered shipping corridors will spur growth opportunities for businesses as they look for opportunities to pilot and to scale low emission technologies for maritime port operations and for trans-oceanic shipping. The second point I want to make is related to international law. The conservation and the sustainable use of our oceans must be conducted under the aegis of international law, and in particular for us, the United Nations Convention of the Law of the Sea is paramount. It is, in our view, the ultimate legal framework within which all activities in the oceans and seas must be carried out. Recently, we achieved a new treaty in what we use the acronym BBNJ, which stands for Biodiversity Beyond National Jurisdiction. This is an agreement under the aegis of UNCLOS, which is a major step forward in the governance of the global commons. It is a historic agreement. It creates rules for the sustainable use of resources in the high seas, the deep sea beds, in the areas beyond national jurisdiction. It recognizes the common heritage of mankind and that these resources belong to everyone. And we are looking for fair and equitable use and also of these resources, but without damaging the oceans and being fair to future generations. I'm proud that a fellow Singaporean, Ambassador Rina Lee, served as the president of the Intergovernmental Conference that was able to bring the whole world to land at this new treaty. And mind you, given the state of the world that we are confronting today, to be able to arrive at consensus and to arrive at a treaty is a significant achievement. This is also a reaffirmation of the relevance of the United Nations and of multilateralism, and a reminder that now more than ever before, we need a rules-based international order, one that is fair to all countries, big or small, and one that is also fair to the current and future generations of mankind. So I'm glad that I will be one of the early signatories for the BBNJ agreement. I hope to sign it tomorrow, and I want to encourage all of you to put pressure on your own politicians to sign on to the BBNJ as well, not just for the sake of an agreement, but for what it represents. Third, my third and final point is that every country has a role to play. Singapore may be small, but we're doing our part for ocean conservation and for green shipping. Besides setting up these green shipping corridors, we're also sharing our development experience and extending technical assistance to fellow developing countries. Singapore is a proud member of SIDS, Small Island Developing States. And sometimes we have to seek safety in numbers and by rafting our futures together. So the Singapore Cooperation Program has conducted over 60 ocean-related courses with more than 1,200 participants from 120 countries, intergovernmental organizations, and we will continue to pour resources, bandwidth, and attention into this effort. So let me conclude. There must be collective commitment and a firm resolve at all levels amongst the public, the private, and the civic sector to work together to achieve a more resilient, and sustainable and fairer tomorrow. We look forward to hosting the Earthshot Prize Awards on the 7th of November 2023, and I hope I'll see many of you in Singapore shortly. Thank you all very much. I wish you all the very best.
Warm temperatures, pollution, and harmful fishing practices are having devastating impacts on the ocean, putting life underwater in jeopardy. But this decade, we can choose to make our oceans healthy. We choose to bring forward a new era where everyone uses the ocean sustainably. We choose a future where our children can enjoy the ocean for years to come and where the ocean can continue to sustain and enrich all life on Earth. These are the solutions nominated for the 2023 Earthshot Prize to revive our oceans.
Pressure on global fish supplies has increased in recent decades. In South Africa, Abalobi has co-designed mobile technology that positions traditional fishers as stewards of the ocean. An app aids collection of fisheries data and connects fishers directly to the marketplace, disincentivizing overcatch and illegal fishing, protecting at-risk species. Based in the Philippines is Coastal 500, a global network of mayors and leaders who advocate for small-scale fishers and protection for coastal habitats. When they join, members of the network take a pledge and are provided with the resources and support needed to fulfill their commitment. Illegal fishing threatens not only the food supply and livelihoods of coastal communities, but can also lead to a loss of other important marine life. In the US, Ecuador, and across the world, WildAid strives to deter illegal fishing and increase local support for marine conservation efforts. How our seas are managed is crucial to a healthy planet. These solutions all need support to keep our oceans as a sustainable resource.
Please welcome co-CEOs of NOPLA and the winners of the 2022 Earthshot Prize, Rodrigo Garcia Gonzalez and Pierre Pallier.
So thank you so much for having us. We are the co-founders of NOPLA. We're based in London. It's nice to see a few other fellow Londoners like our mayor. And we are here because we actually use a lot of this plastic, especially single-use plastic. It's everywhere. It's so commonplace. And actually, unfortunately, too often, it ends up in our oceans. And the problem is that this material is indestructible. It was invented by humans for having really good properties, but it just stays there for hundreds of years, breaking down into microplastics. And by 2050, we're going to have more plastic than fish in our oceans. So I'm Pierre. I started my career in plastics. I was working as a packaging engineer, making tens of millions of those types of like single-use plastic items. And unfortunately, knowing that like these were ending up nowhere, I realized that I was not being part of the solution.
And I'm Rodrigo, originally from Spain. I started my career as an architect, and I was quite fascinated with waste. And I tried to use this waste to make buildings initially. I didn't succeed. I used it as well to try to make toys, but we decided when we met in London to try to tackle this problem from the roots, like try to think how nature does this. And if you think on a coconut, how a coconut transport water is amazing, right? It's not only water, it's coconut water, it's delicious. It doesn't generate waste, and the most beautiful part of it is that if you throw it away, the coconut, a new coconut tree will grow. Even if you could do that with a plastic bottle. If you throw a plastic bottle and a plastic bottle tree will grow. We didn't want the Earthshot because of that, but maybe, but we created this. We call it O because was the name that people give it when they see it for the first time. They make that sound, like, oh. And basically, it's a membrane made out of seaweed that can contain water or any type of liquids. Pierre holds oranges, right?
It's literally edible, so it's packaging you can eat. Cheers.
It's a membrane because nature uses membranes to contain any type of liquids. It's the most efficient way. And it's not a technology that we invented. It's a technology that had been there for many years in the 1930s to make things like fake caviar. And we just use it to make packaging. We scale it up, and it's made out of seaweed.
And we discovered along this journey how amazing seaweed is. First of all, seaweed grows without requiring any fresh water, any fertilizers. So compared to agriculture, humans can't really mess around with this system. It just grows on its own. And incredibly, like when it grows, it actually kind of like revives the oceans. It's really great for bringing fish. It can be farmed with aquaculture very easily, providing livelihood for people on the coastline. And importantly, like it's so abundant. Some of the seaweed that we use grow up to 1 meter per day. So it's the fastest growing organism on this planet. And what's amazing is that seaweed has been around for 1 billion years. So nature really knows what to do at end of life. So it means that if it ends up in nature, and inevitably a lot of our waste does, it never creates a long-lasting waste. So it really never creates the chance for plastic to create all of these problems. Unfortunately, plastic and bioplastics really create those kind of forever waste.
How we started in a student hall in London. We were buying products and inviting friends for dinner. We still have this tradition around. We were able to get some fundraising through 900 people who put from 10 pounds to a few thousands to start to build machinery. And with this machinery, we were able to start to make this product at scale and to start to use it in different type of situations. It works quite well for short-term consumption and small volumes. So we have used it in places like the London Marathon, where we replaced it, a full water station for 46,000 runners with edible packaging. And it was really impactful to see the station before and after in comparison with any plastic station. We are commercializing now this product with big companies to try to make energy gels as well. We have cocktails. It's a fun way as well of drinking. Sauces as well is a product that is really hard to recycle, the small sachets. We believe that there's a big impact there as well. But we always try to think, like if this was a fruit, for example, in case of olive oil, it will be quite helpful if you can kind of like use it as a pipette, or if toothpaste was a fruit, it will be great if it's a little blueberry, so you can take a few of them for your weekend. So we always try to think not as how packaging nowadays package things as plastic, but as if nature will package some type of content, how they will do it.
And we realized along the way that there were so many places where there is hidden plastic. Typically for food on the go, you might see this container that it looks like it's made from cardboard, but it's never just cardboard. Cardboard doesn't hold greasy, moist food, so you need a thin layer of plastic on the inside. So we realized that we could use the seaweed to make that coating so that the whole product is natural, biodegradable, recyclable, without needing this thin layer of plastic. Now, thanks to also the support from the Earthshot Prize, we've really scaled up. We are available in 9 countries in Europe, and we're starting to kind of like have millions of those kind of like products that are replacing plastic every day. And it's kind of amazing because we've managed to work with partners to retrofit the industry of plastic to use seaweed instead, so that we don't have to build new factories. We can just use the existing factories that transform like solvents and kind of like plastic materials and just feed our material, which means that we can really quickly scale up in lots of different places. And these boxes are now being used in stadiums and in festivals, in all sorts of events where there's a very quick consumption of this material, a high chance that this doesn't really have a great kind of like end of life. And the amazing thing is that whichever end of life, it never creates a long-lasting waste, because nature is very used to dealing with these materials for millions of years. So, since winning the Earthshot Prize, it's been amazing to see more and more of those like event organizers, stadiums that are kind of like keen to work with us. We've had a little bit of help on the business development side. So thank you very much. But it's really amazing to see that we can make those moments of consumption part of like the narrative about how we switch away from plastic and bring people on the journey.
Now we are quite excited to expand our category of products. We are trying to retrofit existing packaging machinery with seaweed, with our materials for different applications, especially for these small volumes that doesn't have any type of chances of being recycled. And sometimes we have a twist. So for example, in this case, the package has salt, so you don't need to put salt on your pasta, or in this case, it's coffee with sugar on the membrane. So if you want your coffee with sugar, you solubilize it. If you want it without sugar, you take it out. We are looking as well into how to tackle the problem of PBOH. It's the film that is used at the moment in detergent tablets. It comes from petroleum, and when it dissolves, it's a bit of a question mark in what to dissolve to. But we are always trying to see if we can add some value to these films, and in what type of occasions it will make sense. Sometimes we can make it that solubilized, sometimes that doesn't, depending on the application.
And we use the transparent part of the seaweed, so you might be wondering what's happening with the rest. Well, we found a way to be more circular by actually turning this into a paper so that we can actually use the entirety of the seaweed and create packaging with it. So that's some of the other innovations that we're working on. We've also been developing recently like a rigid material, which could develop things like cutlery, so that we can actually expand the possibilities with seaweed material. And it's only the beginning. We're scratching the surface. Last year, we replaced about 2.5 million single-use plastic. This year, we are like on course to like double that. And thanks to the Earthshot Prize, there's a lot of opportunities coming up. We're a big team of 70 people across chemistry, engineering, design, biz dev. So it's really a team effort. And we're looking for investors and partners to really kind of like fund the next phase so that we can bring this to the US, for example. So thank you very much. We're really excited to be part of this journey with you.
And without further ado, let's see the 3 finalists of this year category of Build a Waste-Free World.
In the US, the global issue of textile waste is being challenged. Circ has developed technology to achieve closed-loop recycling of polycotton into raw polyester and cotton. These fibers can then be reused in a circular solution for the fashion industry. S4S Technologies is committed to reducing food waste in India. It equips rural women with the means to preserve surplus or damaged crops. And by using solar dryers and a nationwide network, S4S helps farmers earn additional income while reducing waste. In the United Kingdom, colorifics are cleaning up the textile industry. Taking inspiration from nature, they replace chemical fabric dyeing with a biological process, helping to reduce water use and chemical pollution. Building a waste-free world will make the planet a better place for all of us. And these solutions all strive to help us achieve it.
Please welcome co-chair of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and founder of Breakthrough Energy, Bill Gates, and founder and CEO of 4401 and winner of the 2022 Earthshot Prize, Talal Hassan, for a conversation with Bloomberg's Emily Chang.
Thank you. And thank you both for being here. And Talal, congratulations again on such a monumental achievement. I mean, pretty amazing. Bill, you recently wrote a book about how we can avoid climate, quote unquote, disaster. And yet we've seen record heat all summer, as I'm sure everybody here in New York knows. Give us your assessment of where we are now. Are we still on the verge of disaster, or is the world getting the message?
Well, we've certainly made a great deal of progress. If you look at carbon emissions per person in a country like the UK, they're a third of what they were back 30 years ago when it was very coal-driven. There's a lot of efficiency sectors, and so it's pretty clear, we're not going to go to the extreme scenarios because emissions will peak and then start to go down. They won't go down as fast as we want them to, and so the temperature will continue to rise. And once the temperature's risen, it doesn't go down very, very quickly. Unless you do massive carbon removal, you basically are at that equilibrium temperature and you have to do the adaptation. So people should feel good, particularly about the upstream innovation. It's very exciting across every area of emission that since 2015, when the innovation agenda got supercharged, we've seen fantastic progress. And now we need to roll that out in a very fast process, which the scale of it's bigger than anything humanity's ever done.
Well, and I wonder if we should feel good about the level of investing, because obviously you have invested personally billions and through your organization, Breakthrough Energy, but also climate tech has hit record levels. Climate tech investing has hit record levels recently. Is it enough?
Well, we can always use more upstream investment, but certainly in the financial environment we were in until a year ago, the rise from 2015, where it was somewhat out of fashion because there had been a lot of losses, the rise until a year ago was pretty gigantic. And, Breakthrough Energy has 100 companies. There's several hundred other really good companies. And so I didn't expect in some of the toughest areas like steel and cement and agriculture to see there are solutions that will, once their technology is rolled out, scaled up, and matures, get to this magic green premium of zero, where you can go to the middle-income countries that are 60% of emissions and say to them, hey, you have to make steel a new way, but that steel will not be more expensive. Likewise for cement or beef or dairy. In 2015, when this got kicked off in Paris, we didn't know how successful the innovation would be. And it's been far more successful than I expected. So, we need to fund these projects. We need to get them scaled up. But, innovation is delivering very well.
So one of the organizations Breakthrough backs is, of course, 4401, not 4401. It's 4401, according to the scientists. Talk to us, Talal, about your carbon removal solution, because this is a massively hard problem, and especially storage is a really hard problem. What makes your technology different?
Absolutely. Thank you, Emily. So we eliminate CO2. That's what we do. And we do that by a process called mineralization. So we have a rock on this planet called peridotite, typically found 40 kilometers in the subsurface. However, it's been pushed up to the surface in certain places around the world. And peridotite's quite special because it's really reactive with carbon dioxide. So when it comes in contact with CO2, it actually mineralizes it. And you can see these white veins over here in the rock. Just pass it over to you if you want to have a closer look. So this is a natural process. And what we are doing with our technology is we are speeding up this natural process by about 100,000 times. So rather than it taking decades in nature, we're speeding it up to months. Now, because we're converting it into a rock, this is considered the gold standard of carbon storage. So it means that you don't need to monitor, you don't need to insure it, and it gives carbon credit buyers certainty that the CO2 is converted into rock. They never have to worry about it again.
So it's there forever.
It is there forever.
Bill, why is carbon removal so important, and why do you think 4401's technology in particular is scalable?
Well, the temperature rise is proportional to how much greenhouse gas is sitting in the atmosphere. And if you don't do what 4101 does, it stays there for literally thousands of years. It also acidifies the ocean, so it's very bad. And so the only way you go back in time to lower parts per million is by having carbon removal technologies. There's companies like Climeworks, which for a little over $500 a ton, they're up in Iceland at at a modest scale doing this work. And so the goal is to get that cost per ton down. They've been the gold standard because they also mineralize. And now we have, carbon engineering, which Occidental just bought. We've got other approaches. Getting down to $100 to $50, it makes a huge difference because it's expensive. If you're going to do 10 billion tons at $100, that's $1 trillion a year, which is 8 times all foreign aid. It's a serious number in a collective action problem like this. You can get down to 50, which graphite probably does, or below 50, which 401, has that as their design point. It brings in this additional tool that reduces the temperature rise.
Talal, how impactful has the Earthshot Prize, winning this prize, been for you and for the company and working with Breakthrough and Bill in particular?
Wow, how long have we got? So with the Earthshot Prize, I'll start there. It has been absolutely phenomenal for us. So just going out there, talking about the technology, making people aware of it has really helped us with customer traction. Obviously, as a startup, customer traction is really key. So that's been great. On the Breakthrough side, you have a fund that's arguably got the largest green tech portfolio in the market. So they have expert knowledge on how to scale, how to raise, how to mentor, how to coach. And these have been pieces that have absolutely been critical for us to take our technology to the next level. But then finally, what's really interesting with both entities is that they have an extensive portfolio, but also they have really strong partnerships. And we've been able to leverage those partnerships to help us scale the technology.
Climate technology, Bill, super capital intensive, takes time and patience to invest and then wait for it to scale, right? How should everybody else be thinking about climate tech investing?
Well, climate requires a lot of philanthropic capital, not investing, where you're funding policy groups, where you're accelerating implementation of things like the IRA, where you're getting experts to think through grid policy and remove that, which is a gigantic bottleneck everywhere. So we need lots of philanthropic capital. Early stage science thing is done philanthropically. Then if it reaches a certain stage, then it becomes venture investing. High-risk investing, but those portfolios, today look like they're going to be quite successful. So we need more of both of those things. There's several side meetings this week with climate philanthropists, lots of new people coming into it, lots of ways that we're organizing that money. And so Breakthrough Energy is very proud of the fact that because we have such a strong technical team, we're able to validate these investments. And so for every dollar we put in, there's usually $4 or $5 from other investors who we enjoy partnering with because they bring local knowledge or contacts and things that can help these companies go global.
So in closing, give us your level of optimism at this point. Are we going to be okay?
Well, there's a lot of climate exaggeration, that climate is not the end of the planet. So the planet's going to be fine. We're not going to completely reverse development. So, when we went from 10 million kids dying per year in the year 2000 down to 5 million, we're not going to reverse that. It's going to slow down our progress. And so things like climate adaptation, which doesn't get hardly any visibility, that's become very important for the poorer countries. And yes, it is a burden on them, a significant burden on them that, it's not, they didn't create the problem, we created the problem. So this is all numbers. Will we hit 1.5 degrees? No. Will we hit 3 degrees? No. We'll be below, we'll be in that range. The lower, the better. And the sense of progress, it's important for people to see that emissions in many areas have come down, and at least at the lab level, we have economic solutions for every kind of emission.
All right, well, that's comforting-ish, I think. Bill and Talal, thank you so much. We're going to meet the 3 finalists nominated for this year's prize right now.
Follow me.
In the US, naturally existing bacteria are used to generate electricity to treat industrial wastewater. Aquacycle technology helps industries transition into sustainable water management, whilst claiming a 50% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions in this area compared to existing technologies. Science-backed technology firm Bumitra empowers farmers and ranchers to create a thriving planet. By incentivizing carbon capture in the soil, Bumitra uses satellite imagery to track the volume of carbon sequestered, handing any revenue from carbon credits back to the farmers. Cattle emit huge amounts of methane, a gas with a warming effect many times that of carbon dioxide in the near term. In Tasmania, sea forests have developed a seaweed-based feed supplement for livestock, which has the potential to reduce methane emissions on a huge scale. If funded correctly and scaled, these solutions could help mitigate the effects of climate change.
Please welcome the Director General of the World Trade Organization, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala.
Good afternoon, everyone. Before I go to my main task for today, I just wanted to say I saw a segment on illegal fishing, and this is a big problem. And our oceans are 50% overfished. I just wanted to let you know that at the WTO, our members have negotiated an agreement to do away with $22 billion that subsidize harmful subsidies that lead to illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing. So we have a solution. Once this agreement, we are fighting to get it ratified by February next year. And then those who do it can face consequences. So now, to my main task. As we've seen and heard today, the Earthshot Prize is a unique platform. It is about finding and growing solutions that will repair our planet this decade. It is about making moonshots, both of the literal and metaphorical kind, possible. The team who bring this prize to life wake up every day with a burning passion to support the leaders working to create a better world. As a member of the Earthshot Prize Council, I add my heartfelt thanks to them, Mike Bloomberg, and the nominators who highlight the work of these passionate and bold individuals demanding action. In the 3 short years since its founding, the Earthshot Prize finalists and winners have taken great leaps with their solutions, and they're already delivering on their potential, and I'm so proud. At latest count, the 2021 cohort have protected or restored 2 million hectares of ocean, reduced, avoided, or sequestered 3,000 tons of CO2, the equivalent of burning 39 million pounds of coal, protected or restored 7,000 hectares of land, the equivalent of 20 central parks, and removed, upcycled, or avoided over 40,000 tons of waste. If you're counting, that's the equivalent of 195 Statue of Liberties. And something that I'm especially proud of is how many of the finalists and winners are from Africa, home of the world's most acute sustainable development challenges, but also the biggest sustainable development opportunities. Earthshot is more than a prize. It's a movement. It's a forum for impact. And Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is now my pleasure and honor to ask you to join me in welcoming the President and founder of Earthshot, His Royal Highness Prince William, joined in conversation by the co-founder of ENAPTA, the 2021 Earthshot Prize winner of To Fix Our Climate, Vatea Cowan. Thank you.
So Prince William, here we are, and you're back in the US. Last time was in Boston for the Earthshot Prize second award ceremony. And I hear that you haven't been in New York for a little while, but you've been busy. You were at the Billion Oyster Project yesterday, and so I heard. Is it true? Did you go running in Central Park this morning?
I did, Vatea, yes. I decided to join the hordes of New Yorkers doing their morning routine as they went around Central Park. But it was wonderful waking up in New York on a sunny morning rather than the rain we had yesterday. And it was beautiful getting some fresh air this morning. But it's been wonderful being back. It's been, I think 2014 was the last time I was here in New York. I've been trying to come back for a couple of years, but with COVID and my grandmother passing away last year has not meant it able to come. So I'm thrilled to be back this time.
Well, wonderful. We're very happy that you're here this year. And before we get started, I know you don't really do these fireside chats so often, so I hope you're ready for some tough questions.
Definitely. You're going to grill me, Vatea, I know.
So we just heard Dr. Ngozi share that you founded the Earthshot Prize with the goal of searching for and scaling extraordinary solutions. Just like the work of 2022 winners that we've just heard about today and met, like Charlotte, Larissa, Talal, and the prize is now in its third year, and it is known globally. So I'd love for you to take us back to the start. Tell us, how did it all start, and what was the inspiration?
It was a very sweaty process, Vatea, over many years. But I think, to start back at the very beginning, I think it came about from a desire to see more change and to highlight wonderful people doing incredible things, as we've all seen today, across the world. I'm very lucky that I get to meet a lot of people in different circumstances, and I kept being shown these amazing things that were happening, but I just felt the impact from them wasn't being achieved, or the potential wasn't there when it could be. So I was thinking, how do we elevate? How do we scale this up? How do we allow more people to see this? And so a prize came out of sort of thinking. And it took us 18 months to 2 years to design the prize. We went through a number of other iterations where we were kind of like, do we go this way? Do we go that way? And eventually we settled on the prize. And my role in the design process was trying to convince everyone it wouldn't work. Because what I was afraid of was that if we designed the prize and I was there going, yeah, this is a great idea, I had to then sell it for 10 years. It wasn't going to be very good. So it had to be a case of me looking at it going, now hang on, how can we make this better? Is this something that has got legs? Is it credible? And will it achieve the desired outcome? And I think going through the process as we designed it, we were thinking, where else in history has there ever been something like this, where we're asking people to come together and tackle some of society's and life's greatest challenges? And that's when the moonshot sort of hit us. And we were looking through JFK's speeches and JFK's moonshot. And it struck us that this was hugely ambitious at the time. I think it took him 7 years to conduct his moonshot. And he had 400,000 engineers and scientists working on it. And some of the things that we all take for granted nowadays, like even solar panels, all came out of the moonshot development phase. So that really inspired me, and I thought, hang on, if even we get one of those to come out of 10 years worth of Earthshot, then it's worth it.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing. I mean, look at what we've already accomplished in already 2 years and way more to come. And, I think now we are all embarking on this Earthshot and are 100% committed to doing so. And, to the theme of our session, where innovation meets optimism, I think it's important to recognize and address the extreme weather events that have been taking place constantly over the last 3 decades, but even more so this summer. I felt like every time I checked the news, the headlines were always there, from the fires in Maui and Canada, the floods in Libya, and now 2023 has been recorded the hottest year. So with this constant news of tragedy and bad news, how do you keep optimistic?
Well, as we've seen today, the Earthshot winners and the finalists create that inspiration, that optimism. And I think we've got to hang on to optimism and hope, because it is the biggest driver of change. It is the biggest driver of innovation. I think if we remark on how so pessimistic and doom and gloom everything is, even though there is a healthy dose of that needed to make sure we're all being kept in reality, it doesn't provoke the reaction from us humans as we would like. Yeah. And I think that's been an important part of the prize's design and development, is that not just to provide the solutions, but it's the fact to make people believe there is hope, and there are people out there doing incredible things that will have a massive impact on our futures.
Yeah, I mean, I think just seeing all these stories of these innovators, people really making change happen, not just talking about what we would like to do and hoping, but really driving that action has been quite inspiring, I think, for the future next generations. And, I think something that keeps us optimistic as well is for sure the solution that we're working on, but also the people with whom we are working on this with. And you have quite a dream team, I have to say. So, when you reflect on what you and your incredible team have accomplished to date, and when you look into the future, where do you dream that this prize will go?
I think for now, we're kind of keen on the scale. That's what I've been working on quite heavily, is how do we scale all the things you're seeing today? Because over 10 years, we're going to have a lot of finalists and a lot of solutions. So if you take the optimism and hope as given, when we do the solutions and when we scale them up, how can we have the biggest change? And I think for me, that's something I haven't quite cracked yet, is how do we scale faster? Mm-hmm. I'm impatient with all this, as you well know, Vater. And so it's kind of, I feel my role, you guys provide the product and you guys provide the inspiration and the solution. My role is to get you as big, as fast, and as scalable as possible. And I think we've still got some work to do on that. And I'm hoping in Singapore in November, we've got an Earthshot Week, where we've got a lot of business and backers coming. I think if I can reach more investors and people see this isn't a philanthropic thing, we're not doing this to be philanthropic, we're doing this because the vast majority of these solutions are commercially viable. I think that will help people realize and understand that this has got legs of its own, and the momentum will take it forwards. Because I think, 10 years down the line, this is the decade of change we've talked about. And 10 years down the line, when we look back, I want to make sure that we've found the right solutions, we've found the right people, but we're also maximizing their impact. And I think, I'm already starting to think about after 10 years, what happens? And many people are already asking me that question. And I'll need a few brains in this room to help me work out what we do next. But it's, I'm really pleased with the team and how we've achieved the first 3 years. It's gone better than I hoped, but there's still a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, we can see already the achievements coming through. And, when I think about what happens at the end of this decade and when I see all the work that's already been done and the categories that we're really addressing, I think, you're part of this generational movement that is providing a livable future for our children and grandchildren. I do want to come back to the scaling question later, but we'll keep that one for now and first talk about global collaboration, because we've seen today that the Earthshot Prize finalists are coming from all over the world. We've seen today from Australia, India, Oman, and Kenya. So this is a truly worldwide cohort that you're bringing together. So in your own words, why do you believe that global collaboration is important to reach your mission?
So I'm a big believer in a big team. Mm-hmm. I don't think any solutions in the world can ever be achieved by yourself. And one of my roles has always been to build coalitions, to build relationships, build teams, and this is no different. I'm building an enormous team of brilliant people and letting them crack on and do the work that needs to be done. So I think that's really important to kind of have the dynamism, the innovation, and the drive that you all have, and you've demonstrated in your ways. And all we're doing is providing you with a leg up to become a household name, and to have the visibility to the right people. But as an example, I think for everyone here, one of the things that comes out of this is that on a collaboration level that wasn't intended but is happening is Costa Rica won in 2021. They completely off their own backs because they take this very seriously and they take pride in the environment. They reached out to another finalist called Restore, which is effectively a data company that monitors carbon sinks amongst other things. And together they're monitoring 5,000 reforestation projects in Costa Rica. So it's the first public, effectively independent public verifier of national policy on forestation. And they'll hold them to that account, they'll have the data, and they'll drive that forwards. And so these collaborations are happening without us even trying. And that's the kind of thing over the next few years, we want to see more and more of that going. But again, these things can happen with the support of the wider society around them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know if you know about this, but we are talking about an Earthshot village, right, where we can bring all of our solutions together. So I think it's all coming together. I think it's time for the scaling question because we won't reach all of our targets and actually realize this ambition that we have if we don't have exponential growth and if we don't actually get these solutions to scale. And so we've heard this topic quite mentioned oftentimes today, and even by yourself. So I'm wondering, how can people here today get behind these solutions, and what does scaling these products and solutions, for example, like Takachar, one of the winners from 2021, what does that mean to scale those solutions?
So Takachar, for anyone who doesn't know, is they won in 2021, a fantastic Indian designer who created effectively a mobile furnace, if you like, that can be transported around farms in India. He was trying to develop and tackle the smog and the pollution from when they burn the crops in Delhi, and it effectively cuts out 98% of smoke pollution, and the offcuts and the offshoots of or the waste from the farm go into the furnace and are burnt into fertilizer, rather than being burnt into the atmosphere in a fire. So the farmers can then reclaim, reuse, and sell on effectively their fertilizer. He reckons with scale that he can reduce 1 billion tons of CO2. Get my stats right. So it's really important that we can get these things to scale because they can have huge impact. And we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg here. I mean, the Notpla guys did a brilliant presentation. And we regularly get them to come up and talk about it because they're a good double act. But they also present a wonderful project and a vision for what scaling really looks like. And I think that's what gives us all hope and inspiration and optimism, that you guys have this journey and we're here to facilitate and promote your journey to achieving greater things.
I mean, I can definitely talk about this in first person, right? Because this is exactly what you have enabled us to do at Enapture, in the sense that, when we won the prize, we were building a still modular and scalable product, but it was still in the kilowatt range, quite small, microwave size, apparently some are calling it. And now more than 3,700 are running around the world with green hydrogen. Then just today, we announced our new product, which is actually 50 times the capacity of that. And later this year, an even bigger one will be delivered for both refueling stations in the Netherlands and also for a research center at an airport. And this has all been thanks to the visibility that we've had and also the awareness of green hydrogen, the fact that it is an alternative fuel that is coming and wouldn't have been possible without you, and also the modularity and scalability of our product. So it's a good teamwork.
That's what we're talking about.
There we go.
That's the scaling right there, Batea.
So, we've heard about how unique the Earthshot Prize is, and also something else worth mentioning that we haven't yet talked about is actually the fellowship experience, right? We've seen the work of the next 15 cohorts, super exciting, and 5 of them will receive £1 million in prize this year in Singapore. But all of them do get support and are mentored by the Earthshot Prize community. Do you want to tell us a few words about that?
Sure. So I think the headlines are always about the £1 million, and you'll attest to how much for a startup that matters. But I think you'll also be able to test the fact that what goes on behind the scenes in the fellowship program is equally as important. It's the idea that we give them a giant leap, effectively. So For a year, they'll receive all sorts of mentorship, training, support, resources, whatever they might need. It's tailored to their needs. Because a lot of these guys and girls and the companies come through and they're at such an early stage that they really need the kind of the guardrails to help launch them off. And so the fellowship program takes them, looks after them, holds their hand effectively, and introduces them to some incredible people, Bill Gates, Mike Bloomberg, and all the team here who've been with this on the Earthshot journey from the beginning, provide such important support to allow them to reach their best potential.
Yeah, I mean, we have definitely benefited from a lot of this expertise. I think as we're starting to wrap up, we know the prize is happening in Singapore. And so I think everyone's kind of curious to know, well, what was appealing to you for bringing the prize actually to Southeast Asia?
So part of the Earthshot, as we talked about, is the global aspect of it. We want to get it around the world. We want to see new solutions in different places. We want to work with those existing ones we work with, but we also want to open up new chapters, new areas. And I think with Singapore, it's a gateway to Southeast Asia. It's a new region. We know the innovation sectors there are huge, and the technology is booming there. Singapore is a city in nature, so they get it. And we heard the foreign minister talk about it earlier. So it's really exciting what's going to happen in Singapore. And we take our time over trying to work out where is the next place to go. And we're super excited about going to Singapore.
Yeah, I mean, I think so are we. And so, I mean, just to make sure we are super excited, you will be in Singapore.
I'll be in Singapore.
Correct. So. Wonderful. Well, Prince William, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, well done.
Well, thank you all again. Over the past several months, there's been no shortage of reasons to despair about the climate crisis, but over the past several hours, I think we've been given some profound reasons for hope. So once again, I want to thank His Royal Highness, Prince William, for his strong leadership and the entire Earthshot team for their passion and their dedication. They posed a challenge for the world, and I think the response that we've seen in this room and beyond is proof of our commitment to meet head on. And whether it is in the public or private sector, change, as we know, is always possible, but it requires pairing vision with action. And the finalists are today demonstrating that they have the vision and are taking the action, and together we can help them scale their ambitions. So as we heard today, let's carry forward the energy and optimism over the course of the next year, and let us ensure that the Earthshot Prize is not just an annual event, but a daily inspiration, one that urges governments and businesses, communities, and individuals to act and to innovate. And I'm grateful for everyone who has been here and for being the champions of change that our society so desperately needs. So until next year, let's keep aiming higher, dreaming bigger, and making sure that we are turning vision into action. So thank you very much for coming, and all the best.
Thank you for coming to the Earthshot Prize Innovation Summit. Please proceed to the breakout sessions.